Brazil has spoken. Jair Bolsonaro will be the new president of Brazil. His win was resounding over the left-wing's Worker Party candidate. Bolsonaro's victory is seen as a victory of Brazil's right-wing party, which now will lead the 8th largest economy in the world and a nation of 200 million people. I-24 takes a look at who Bolsonaro is and why his win matters for the Middle East.
The streets of Rio Sunday night, crowds celebrating the end of a long election campaign, and that campaign's result, the election of the far-right Jair Bolsonaro as Brazil's next president. It's a dramatic choice. Bolsonaro has taken hardline stances on trade, migration, and cultural issues. He calls for a strong hand for Brazil's police. Bolsonaro has also been seen as having made derogatory comments toward women and gays and racial minorities. The mix of substance and style has earned Bolsonaro a nickname, the Trump of the tropics. As Bolsonaro told I-24 News' Michelle Makori, he doesn't mind.
Times
I take it as a joke, because I'm richer than he is. But I also take it seriously, because I respect the prerogative of the American voters.
Bolsonaro's election could impact the Middle East, too. Bolsonaro says he wants closer ties between Brazil and Israel, and even wants to close the Palestinian embassy in Brasilia.
It will certainly be the first country I visit as a Christian. It will be Israel. Last year, I went to Israel for 8 days. I felt that it was another country with which we could develop closer ties.
Bolsonaro's office now says Israel may not be the first country he visits, but will be one of the first. Bolsonaro has also said he'll move Brazil's Israel embassy to Jerusalem. Analysts wonder whether he'll actually do it.
I'm not sure moving the embassy to Jerusalem will be his first priority. I think he will wait for a while. Don't forget there are millions of Muslim people in Brazil, Brazilian citizens, most of them originally from Lebanon.
One of many issues where Bolsonaro may struggle to fill his campaign promises and please the supporters who expect so much. Owen Alterman, I-24 News.
Joining me now is Gerald Brant. Mr. Brant is an advisor to the Bolsonaro family. Gerald, nice to have you back with us. And congratulations to you, to the campaign, and to the Bolsonaro family. What has the reaction been? What have you heard from them?
Fantastic. I actually swapped texts with Flavio Bolsonaro, Jair's oldest son, and, you know, they couldn't be more excited. I spent a lot of time speaking with Flavio over the years about, you know, the potential for Jair to be elected president of Brazil. I think this is a very seismic moment, and I think that, you know, the family ran an awesome campaign that they should be very proud of, because they really ran circles around, you know, the establishment in Brazil, the traditional political parties in Brazil, and they won with you know, very little resources, right? So it's an exciting moment for them, and they know that with this victory comes a lot of responsibility.
Of course, yeah. Last time when you were here, we discussed, of course, that stabbing attack on Jair during one of the campaign rallies.
Right.
We have to address what happens with his health next. I believe there's a surgery scheduled for the not-too-distant future. What are the details there?
Well, you know, I mean, I think he's been recovering consistently. He had to spend the last couple of weeks actually at home, and he was able to run his campaign from home and do a lot of his sort of campaigning over the internet through live transmissions on Facebook. He couldn't really get out there for health reasons and also for security reasons, because there were some pretty significant threats to his life from you know, elements in Venezuela, Hezbollah, Iran. He's had to really upgrade his security as well.
Hezbollah and Iran, is that because of his support to Israel, for Israel?
Potentially so, yes. There have been members of Congress in the United States, like Dana Rohrabacher, who wrote letters to the State Department, to Secretary Pompeo, you know, really expressing their concerns for his safety in light of, you know, the assassination attempt.
Right.
But I can tell you that, you know, I've spent enough time with Jair Bolsonaro to tell you that, you know, he is super fit and very high energy. I mean, he was doing, you know, 5, 6 events a day all over Brazil, and I think it really paid off for him at the end of the day. He was able to kind of have a very smooth sail, into the end zone and win by more than 10 million votes.
And Gerald, you were helping him with regards to creating campaign awareness and support for him in the United States.
Right.
He certainly does seem to have the support of the president tweeting today that he had spoken with Bolsonaro, that they had a very good conversation, that he looks forward to working together on trade, military, and everything else with him. What can we expect from the relationship between the U.S. and Brazil now under these two presidents that many have said are very much alike?
Well, I think, Bolsonaro is going to be an agent for change in many ways, and one of the ways is really upgrading U.S.-Brazilian strategic relations. I think certainly there are similarities between Trump and Bolsonaro in terms of both form and function. I think they're going to get along very well. I know that an invitation is being extended for Bolsonaro to come to the United States next year. But to the point about President Trump's tweet, I think there are not only going to be opportunities on the trade side, but also on the military side. One window of opportunity that I think exists is for Brazil to potentially join NATO as an affiliate member, as is the case of Colombia, actually, because Jair's goal is to really upgrade Brazilian military capabilities.
And that would come at the invitation of the United States? Is this a Brazilian initiative?
I think it would go both ways. And it would really align Brazil strategically with the United States, Western Europe, Japan, and Korea.
And also interesting is Bolsonaro's relationship with Israel, as we've discussed in the past. He did say that it was on his priority list to visit the Holy Land. Prime Minister Netanyahu also congratulating him, saying that he's confident his election will lead to an even greater friendship between Israel and Brazil. What is the timeline for some of those promises that Bolsonaro made with regards to moving the embassy to Jerusalem? Given in mind, it took Trump a little bit of time before he went ahead with that move. How soon can we expect him to follow through with some of those campaign promises?
Well, it will be a process, right? Brazil's foreign ministry bureaucracy, the deep state in Brazil, so to speak, is not going to move on certain issues and policies as quickly as, Bolsonaro might like. That being said, it's a very strong commitment. And besides, moving the embassy and the political side, I think that there are going to be tremendous opportunities on the commercial side, because Israel, as you know, has a very significant startup community. And I think there are going to be some great opportunities for cooperation there. I also think there are going to be areas of cooperation on the security side.
All right, so more cooperation in terms of tech, economics, military, security. Sounds like we'll be talking a lot more to you, Gerald, I'm sure, as this presidency gets underway. Thank you so much for joining us here on Clear Cut Plus. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks, Michelle.
All right.